Well, welcome back to KTN Weekend at 1. Many questions remain unanswered in the murder of 14-year-old Kwekwe Mwandaza in Kwale last month. The clues remain scanty, even as her family and human rights activists launch a campaign for justice. Is there really hope for justice for Kwekwe? KTNs Ferdinand Omondi reports from Mombasa.
Alipoona amevaa sare za polisi akawaheshimu sana.
Wakamua mtoto wa miaka 14, mtoto wa kike, msichana, na mpaka leo hakuna hata askari mmoja ambaye ametiwa ndani.
From the moment the news broke that 14-year-old Kwekwe Mwandaza had died, allegedly at the hands of the police, it became apparent that police service was never going to accept responsibility. Initial statements painted the young girl as a vicious attacker who had wanted to harm police officers. Even the cause of her death was registered as cardiac arrest, even though her brains had been blown out. The shooter probably never anticipated that the gunshots that went off in the dead of night, far away from civilization somewhere in the rural lands of Kwale County, would reverberate to this day. Was this a case of self-defense or a brazen act of extrajudicial killing carried out by an officer detailed to enforce the law? A damning second post-mortem and the evidence KTN found on the ground points to a different direction from what the police told the country. Deep inside the county of Kwale, nearly everyone who knew Kwekwe is struggling to find closure. At the Maviri Virini Primary School, where Kwekwe was a class 4 student, KTN learns that the fraternity is yet to come to terms with her death. Kwekwe Mwandaza was killed in the latter days of the August holiday, and as the pupils came back for the third term and news filtered in of her death, I'm told a lot of them, especially her classmates, refused to believe that she was indeed dead. And in a bid to build that acceptance, the school administration decided to paste the first headlines breaking news of her killing right here on the notice board to let the pupils know and accept that Kwekwe Mwandaza is no longer with them anymore on this earth. Ismail Mgandi, Kwekwe's teacher of social studies and English, says the school administration felt it was necessary to stick that newspaper on the wall to help them find closure.
They were not in belief that Kwekwe has passed away. That's why we put that magazine there, so that they can get the clear picture of what happened.
I sit down beside Chirunga, a class 8 pupil and a friend of Kwekwe, who even knows the desk where she used to sit. His eyes stare distantly as he recalls how they received the news of their schoolmate's death. According to Chirunga, it is yet to sink in.
Hali imekuwa ngadi mbaya kwa sababu wengine bado wanamkumbuka rafiki yao Kwekwe kama mimi tayari.
Neither the pupils nor the teaching fraternity is buying into the story of the panga she allegedly wielded. On the contrary, it appears some of the young children here are now growing up with a not so positive image of Kenya's police service.
So we
don't know how the situation was during that moment when she was with the policeman, but to us teachers, we don't believe.
Ningependa polisi waliomuua Kwekwe wachukuliwe hatua.
August 21st, 2014, time around 2 a.m. 8 policemen ram into the home of a man they describe as wanted. Instead, they find 3 children aged 14, 10, and 7. When they leave, they carry away the body of the eldest girl, leaving behind pieces of her brain and bullet holes that would eventually expose what really took place here. But the ensuing confusion forces the High Court in Mombasa to approve an exhumation and a second post-mortem examination, which proves beyond doubt that Kwekwe Mwandaza died from the shooting. KTN made the trip to Mawe, where the incident occurred, to piece together the clashing details and establish the circumstances that led to Kwekwe's death. Here we find Dalmas Madau, an uncle of the deceased, who leads us inside the house where it all happened. The 10-year-old boy who survived that night, George Mugandi, is currently in his hiding in what the family says is a safety measure, but his account is retold over and over here.
Vile nasemekana polisi walikuja hawakubisha, walikuja wakagonga mpaka wakangusha. Kuna kitu nzito sana huko ndani imetengenezwa na simiti. Wakapiga mpaka ikaanguka. Walipoanguka wakaingia. Sasa Kwekwe inasemekana alikuwa amesimama hapa hivi akiwapisha mlango waingie, akiwaambia karibuni kama kuna mjomba basi, lakini mjomba ndani hayuko. Unaona? Hawakuingia huku, wakammalizia hapa. Sijui alikuwa amesimama sehemu gani. Wakammalizia hapa ya kichwa, akaanguka. Wakati akijaribu yani si mtu kama anakufa anafanya hivi. Wakammaliza na hapa. Ya kwanza ilikuwa ya kichwa, ya pili ikapiga hapa akiwa amelala chini.
The story is consistent with the second postmortem conducted by an independent team of 3 pathologists led by the chief government pathologist.
And we've just confirmed that indeed she died as a result of head injury due to gunshot from a high velocity firearm. There's also another injury on the chest, but this was a gray zone. We mean that the bullet just passed but never got into her body.
Blood stains still patch the floor of the house where Kwekwe was found, but as we found out, police fired much more than the 2 bullets that took Kwekwe's life.
Inasemekana kabla hajampiga walitupatia gas. Alafu walipomaliza Kwekwe hapa ndio wakatupa marisasi huku. Mabati hiyo ni tundu ya risasi. Yeah. Hiyo ni tundu ya risasi. Hiyo na hiyo. Haya, ile mwenzangu Dickson aliokota ganda hapa.
Iliokota ganda moja, shimo la chini, alafu na tembe chini.
Hapa ni mimi ndio nilichokora sana mpaka ndani. Sikupata kitu. Lakini hapa niliokota ganda, hapa nikokota ganda. Alafu Dickson akokota ile risasi yenyewe hapa chini.
The police who carried out the killings are said to have hurriedly collected cartridges and Kwekwe's body on their way out, but the family still found 3 more, which they handed over to a local human rights organization, Muhuri, which in turn handed it over to the Independent Police Oversight Authority. Amazingly, KTN made its own discovery at the scene more than 3 weeks after the incident. After listening to the story, we've been looking around the house for any other clues, and you will not believe what I have just discovered that even the family did not see. This is another cartridge. Ferdinand Omondi, KTN, Nunguni, Kinango.